Welcome to part 2 of making a poster design in Photoshop. Now that we have our canvas open and set up with our margins here, we want to go ahead and import an image into here. So we're going to go to the internet and we're going to search for an image. I'm going to search for a cartoon character. So cartoon, and it already comes up with some options, cartoon characters. And I want to select an image that's going to be big enough for my canvas size. Now my canvas size is about 4 megapixels, which is around the 2,500 pixels range, dots per inch, sorry. And to know whether any of these pictures are going to be big enough, I can scroll over them, and in the bottom left corner you can see that there's a number range here. And as you can see, this number is a lot smaller than 2,500 by 2,500. So they're not going to be quite big enough for what I'm looking for. And you can look around and see if you can find an image. Here's a little bit closer, but it might take you a while. So the best thing you can do is go over to the settings here, options, and you want to go to an advanced search. And here, if you go down here and have a look at image size, at the moment it's any size, we want to change that to 4 megapixels. Or larger. And then we're going to scroll down the bottom here and go advanced search. Now that's going to eliminate anything that's a lot smaller, and if we scroll over some of these we can see now they're 2,500 by 1,600, and that's much more of a size we're looking for. And here we have a good picture of Timon. Okay, so it's really important when you're copying an image from an image search that you don't make the mistake and copy the thumbnail up here. We want to make sure that we copy the full size version. So click on that thumbnail, bring up the full size version here, and then you can right click with your mouse and go copy image. Once you've done that, simply go down to your Photoshop again. You can either go edit and paste, or you can go Control V with the shortcut. And here we can see we've got our full size image here. Now this has pasted it so far on the background that we already have. It's on its own, it's on a layer that's on the background, and if we use the move tool we can move that around still without affecting the background. And that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now resize this image. I'm going to make him fill my whole entire canvas. To do that, all I have to do is simply go to Edit, Free Transformation, or Free Transform. Control T is also the shortcut for that. I can also go to Transform here, which gives me a few options, things like Scale, which is to increase the size, Rotate, a few Distort, Skew, and so forth. But Free Transform for this feature, just to resize, is pretty good. So I'm going to click there, and I want to make him much bigger. Now if I just go to the corners here and I drag out, what's going to happen is I'm going to potentially distort him. I'm going to make him thinner or wider. Right? That's not what I want. So I'm going to just undo that. What I want to do is I want to make him bigger but evenly so he doesn't get distorted. And to do that I've got to hold down the Shift key. So when I hold down the Shift key I can now drag, and no matter how I drag it's always going to make it bigger evenly. So I'm going to make that all the way out, and I'm going to fill all the way out to the edge of the canvas. When I'm happy with that, I can move him across here. When I'm happy with him, I'm going to then press Enter or Return on the keyboard. And that's going to set my image. Now this image is still outside the box here. So what we want to do is we want to remove any of the excess that's outside this canvas that we can't see right now. And we're going to do that by using this crop tool. So we go back over to our tool panel here, and I select the crop tool, and I'm going to click outside the canvas. I'm going to click here and I'm going to drag from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. So I'm going to click, and as I do that it's going to make sure it goes the full width and height of the canvas. And then if I simply and at the moment you can see that the file size is this big. If I press enter, that's decreased the file size a little bit, not a lot, but somewhat. And now if I go back to my move tool, if I move this character, those arms that were there before, they're not there anymore. So therefore we have our image in there. Now another tool that we want to work with today is the text tool. So here it is, it's a type tool, sorry, and we're going to click on that. Whenever you use some of these tools, you'll notice that some extra options pop up along the top here, and these are things in the type tool, things like the font, the style, the size, and so forth. I'm going to go and select myself a nice sans serif font like Arial. I'm going to go Arial Black. I'm going to maybe select a bigger size. Let's go to something quite large. And then I can either create a text box or I can just click and start typing. But I'm going to create a text box. I want to be within this area here. And then I'm going to say, welcome to my classroom. Welcome to my classroom. Now it's fairly small at the moment, so what I can do is I can just highlight over the top of that, and I can go back up here. I can change it up to 72, or I can even make that bigger by typing in a number. Let's make it 120. Now what's happened is, now welcome to the classroom has disappeared. That's because it's run out of space, so I just need to create this text box a bit bigger, and there you go. What I also want to do is I want to maybe center it, so I've got to highlight it again and go up to here, and let's center it. Now I've kept my text, very importantly, inside those boundary boxes, just so that the printer won't accidentally cut off any of the writing. If I go to the move tool, select that, that makes the text sit there. You'll notice over here on the layers tool that it's a new layer automatically for you. It's very important to make sure that you keep all your different objects separate there. This helps your workflow. It also helps if you can rename them. So I'm going to rename by clicking and then clicking once more on the layer, and I'm going to name that character, and then here the name will be automatically set to the text, whatever it's called. And there you go, you've got text on top of an image. If we want to put any boxes or shapes, what we can do is we can go to the toolbar here again, and we can select a toolbox here. This is the rectangle tool. I can make a box, or if I hold down on that tool, it'll come up with a range of other different objects. So maybe I want to make myself a custom shape. Now again, across the top here you have some options, and in the custom shapes we have a bunch of different shapes here that you can have a look through. I'm going to select this one. If I want to change the color, I can go over to here, the color palette, and I'm going to make this, let's say, a red, maybe a dark orange. Or if I want to make a color that matches my character, I can move my box over here and I can select an area. So as I move out of here, I can go and it turns into an eyedropper, and I can select, let's say I want to have the same brown as the nose there, or it's actually a red, and then that will select that for me. If I select anywhere else, you can see that the color palette changes. Or I could select this brown. Maybe let's go with the red of his hair, and I'm going to say OK. Now when I draw this object, let's say like this, that is created a matching color shape there. I'm going to go back to my move tool. I'm going to move that in position. Might use my keyboard to shuffle that across. And the problem is, right now we can't see our text because it is actually behind this new shape that I've created. So if we go over to our layers, what we can do is we can drag that layer down and under the text layer. And now we've got our text on top of our shape here, which is then on top of our image. You can obviously have a play around with a lot of the other features here to create your own version of something. And that's the end of part 2.